Hello viewers and welcome to another match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I have the opportunity to present another proxy game featuring our upcoming Death World Cycle Warlord Grigory Maksim, played by Eric Keilback. Grigory's entire premise centers around tank trait units. In this game he's going to be up against Guy Lev playing as Barzul, and it looks like both of our players have decided to keep their opening hand. So, to review, Grigory's ability: when a unit you control is dealt damage, you can discard a support from your hand as a shield. It has a value of 1, but if the unit you're deciding to shield has the tank trait, then it counts as a 2 shield icon card instead. So it kind of incentivizes an AM deck builder to focus much more on supports than they otherwise would. Eric has got a whole hell of a lot of early game economy units in his hand, and he's also got a copy of infantry conscripts, so this is a rather interesting card, but given Grigory's predilection for playing a large number of supports, this base 0-5 unit that gets +2 attack for each and every support you control could nevertheless end up hitting like a monster. Ketachan Outpost is going to make the 1-7 Grigory just a far more daunting threat to Barzul. But we've got a copy of the signature army unit, Barzul's Cleavers, out to planet number 1. Looks like this could be a reasonably quick game. We could see a victory as early as planet number 4 through green icons on 2, 3, and 4, or we could see blue on 1, 4, and 5. A lot of different options here. But Barzul tosses out a copy of Heretic Inventor, and it looks like Eric has decided opposite his Void Pirate to be the ideal destination for that unit. So maybe Grigory is hoping to kind of circumvent that 3-3 for 1, but we'll have to see what exactly Eric's thought process is. We've got a copy of Tallarn Raiders at planet number 1. Whenever a Warlord is present, it's going to be able to attack as a 2-2, but otherwise it's just kind of standing to get destroyed by the 2-5 Barzul's Cleavers. Barzul himself is somewhat of a maligned Warlord. He's only recently, near the end of the Planetfall cycle, started to get a lot of powerful tools to really develop him into something special, but as is, he's a 0-5 Warlord. After a unit he controls at his planet takes damage, you can move all of it onto your Warlord, but note that it's after they take damage, not when they're assigned damage. So it's great if you've got a beefy, resilient unit like Barzul's Cleavers with their big reservoir of 5 HP, but it's much less good if you've got like a 1 HP Incubus Warrior or Alpha Legion Infiltrator or anything along those lines. But at planet number 3, we've got a copy of Void Pirate played out by Glaive Guy Lev at the top, and we've got a Rogue Trader at 5 played by Eric Keilback or Whiteblade at the bottom. We have a copy of Chaos Fanatics, which is definitely, well, I don't want to say it's necessarily coming into vogue, but a lot of people are starting to favor this over a far more fragile Incubus Warrior, and I suppose especially combined with the likes of Barzul's ability, a 1-2 is in a lot of ways superior to a 3-1, although as a person that really enjoys the glass cannon style of play myself, I definitely have an appreciation for the Incubus Warrior. But we've got a Ketachan Outpost out for Grigory here. We've also got a copy of Shoot 'em Mob, and now he's just running amok in regard to the command phase. So note that planet number 2 is going to be Taurus, and both of our players are currently deciding where exactly they want to send their respective warlords. Barzul is going to be a fantastic damage sponge wherever he shows up, so maybe if Barzul goes to planet, yes, he's going to go to planet number 1. Kind of the trick with Barzul is you presumably want to bloody him maybe 1, 2 at most battles prior to your victory condition, because on his bloodied side, he's going to be 3-11. Looks like Whiteblade accidentally put the wrong thing on his command dial. Interesting choice there. But yeah, so this is just a proxied casual game. Glaive Guy says if you meant planet number 3, go ahead. And of course, I believe that Eric Keilback is actually using just a pen and paper to keep track of proxies. So there's a lot of, mental juggling going on. This is just very much a casual game. So Glaive Guy is kind enough, sir, to forgive young Sir Eric's mistake there. But it's going to be a total of 2 cards and 2 resources for Glaive Guy, and it's going to be a grand total of 3 cards and 4 resources for Eric. He came across a copy of his signature event, Keep Firing, which as a combat action for the cost of 1 resource, you can ready a tank, which could generally allow it to attack again. Kind of the crappy thing, though, is there are scarcely few tanks available to Grigory. There's the Lehman Russ Battle Tank, there's the Land Raider, and the Mordian Hellhound, and that is about it. But do bear in mind, there are 3 war packs coming out between the unveil of Grigory and the time that we're recording this video. Barzul had arrived at planet number 1. He maintains initiative. Barzul's cleavers swing for 2. They manage to kill the Tallarn Raiders at that planet. Karnath is going to be triggering what looks to be Ossus 4, so that's going to be +1 resource for Glaive Guy, -1 resource for Eric. And Eric is definitely going to need all the resources he can get to fund powerful units like these infantry conscripts, as well as those rather expensive vehicles like the Lehman Russ Battle Tank, I believe costs 5, the Mordian Hellhound is 4, and the Land Raider is also 5. So, looks like we're going to see Grigory elicit a battle at planet number 3, and are we going to see a shield used? The answer is no. Void Pirate is going to be killed. That's going to be +1 resource for Eric, -1 resource for Guy. And now note, Barzul's got a couple interesting cards, specifically, well, let's just say all of his cards are interesting in the context of Barzul. We've got Seers of Deceit. So when they're at a blue planet, they gain a +1 card bonus. Otherwise, they're a 3/3 for 3, and they've got a command icon, but 3 HP is a pretty damn decent reservoir for soaking up attacks, for surviving attacks and then transferring that damage to Barzul. We've actually got all 3 copies of Seer of Deceit in the hand at the moment. We go through an HQ phase. That's going to be 2 cards and 4 resources for each of our players. Eric tosses out a copy of Troop Transport, and let us see what exactly he's got. Looks like he did come across a tank with AE1. He's also got a copy of Engine Seer Augur to further facilitate getting some supports into play to buff his infantry conscripts, but it's a bit of a bummer they don't have a printed command icon. Barzul actually puts out a copy of the monumentally powerful, unique signature support, the Keru Aramaeus. So it's a location and space Hulk, and then as a combat action prior to the battle occurring at planet number 1, you resolve a battle at a non-first planet that does not possess a Warlord, and you can only do that, prior to the battle at the first planet, but that could be Ossus 4 to steal a resource, that could be Yavvarn, where this heretic inventor could murder the Shoot-a-Mob and possibly the Void Pirate unless the Void Pirate retreats. It could also be Aatrox Prime, which the Chaos Fanatics kill that rogue trader, then they trigger Aatrox Prime, or depending on where exactly we see units played out, it could also be Elowith, and that might be a great opportunity for Barzul to just absolutely get some work done, I suppose. There's not too much of interest left in Eric's hand, so just focusing again on Barzul, who really has started to become decent with a lot of, developments in his Karn pool. Pardon me for mixing up my Chaos characters. In his card pool, he has the Cornate Chain Axe. So for the cost of 1 on an army unit like the Barzul's Cleavers here, it can get +2 attack, and then Bloodthirst, it gains Brutal. So if you use Warp Storm to kill several enemy units, you could have the Barzul's Cleavers, like if they pick up the Cornate. Okay, so let's say this Barzul's Cleavers at planet number 1, it has the Chain Axe, it's going to be able to attack for 4, it could deal itself 2 points of damage to allow it to attack for 6 during its next individual attack, and then if you were to use a Warp Storm, it would be immune to that effect, and if an enemy unit died, then it would be able to gain Brutal, and therefore it would be attacking for 8, with the Axe and its ability and Bloodthirst all going simultaneously, and that could be a surprise bloodying of Grigory here, so I guess let's see what exactly is going to occur. We're going to have to be careful to make sure that Keru Arameus is going to be triggered prior to the first planet's battle. Looks like it's going to be Grigory going to planet 5 and Barzul showing up at planet number 2. Glaive Guy, so let's see what exactly the income is going to be, because this is going to determine whether or not he's going to have any opportunity to use any kind of interesting events. And he did get 3 resources and 1 card, and that means he's going to be able to use Warp Storm at planet number 1. And I guess Guy just has 1 blue and 1 red icon, so if he were to win at planet number 1, that would just be awesome. But let's see here. Keru Arameus is going to be resolving a battle at planet number 4. So this is going to be the Chaos Fanatics having an opportunity to kill this Rogue Trader. The Rogue Trader has initiative, so it has to swing, and now the Chaos Fanatics are going to have an opportunity to kill off that unit, and they're going to be able to trigger Aatrox Prime and presumably target this adjacent planet. So that's going to be a Void Pirate and Shoot a Mob potentially being killed. And as much as I'm cheering for my dear, Sir the Vostroyan Grigory here, it's also fantastic seeing Barzul kicking a little bit of ass as well. During this recent command phase, that was a total of 5 cards and 2 resources for Grigory, who was doing great economically up until right this instant. We're about to see a battle at the first planet break out, and note that Grigory's gotten a fair few rather tank-relevant units and cards. He came across a copy of the Leman-Russ Battle Tank, a 4-command icon 4/6, for the cost of 5. He also got a copy of Dozer Blade to give additional HP to this unit. He's got both copies of his signature event, Keep Firing, which he could use to deal out a huge amount of damage, attack after attack after attack. And then he's also got a copy of Maxim Squadron, so his 4-copy signature army unit, whenever you use a shield card to prevent that unit from taking damage, they gain an additional shield card. So with Grigory's ability here, if you discard a support to shield this tank, it counts as a 2 shield value card with an additional 1 shield icon, or if you discard your signature attachment, then they're going to be shielded for 4. We do see a Warp Storm played at planet number 1. That is going to be a dead Void Pirate and a dead Enginseer Augur. Eric is going to have an opportunity to look through the top 6 cards of his deck for a support to put that into play. It's going to be another copy of Ketachan Outpost. Ouch. So that is a very powerful effect indeed. Note that the initiative token is going to be in the possession here of Eric, and now this Mordian Hellhound with both of these outposts is potentially going to be able to attack for a whopping 7. And even though the Cornate Chain Axe is currently activating Bloodthirst, Bloodthirst is active right now, so the Barzul's Cleavers have they have Brutal. They are a 4/5 unit, and they are not going to be able to weather an attack of 7. So unfortunately, Glaive Guy calls out, well, that sucks. And check it out. This is going to be Taurus, and Grigory only has 2 units. So therefore, that is going to be a great opportunity for Eric to presumably generate 3 resources for himself, because he's got a huge number of cards in hand. So things aren't looking great for Barzul, because Barzul is, let's see, if Eric captures planet number 1, that's only going to be 1 green and 1 red planet type icon for Eric, so he's not going to be able to win until planet number 3. So therefore, if Eric would have been closer to winning, Barzul showing up at the final conflict not bloodied is kind of regrettable, because he does much more work as a 3/11 than he does a 0/5 that can sponge damage. But Barzul is going to end up winning a battle at our current planet 2, so that's going to be -1 resource for Eric, +1 resource for Glaive Guy, and then Elwith is going to be triggered by Eric, and he's going to look at the top 3 cards of his deck, add 1 of those to his hand, and the card he has chosen is Ammo Depot, which is a curious choice. I guess it's a support, so it can block one of his, it can shield one of his tanks for 2, or it can shield Maxim Squadron for 3, but, it's... It's not great when you draw an ammo depot and you literally have 11 cards in hand, but we've got another HQ phase having come and gone. That's going to be a couple cards for each of our players, 4 resources for each of our players. Our new planet number 5 is going to be Barless, the forced random card discard planet. That is going to be the 7th and final planet we're going to be seeing this game. Looks like the Keru Arameus has picked up our initiative token at some point, and now it's just going to be 4 resources left for Glaive Guy. He's got a copy of Seer of Deceit, which he'd be able to put out in one of these blue planets. It wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to throw it out to Eloith, just because I think it would be unlikely that Grigory is going to be showing up at that planet to contest him. But Grigory can potentially swing for 5, so kind of everything is out the window at this point. Even though Seer of Deceit could potentially win 3 cards in total sitting at that planet, definitely Eric has got a hell of a lot of options, and he's I guess he's got 9 resources and 10 cards. Like, what are you expecting me to say? He's got a lot of options. He's currently got 4 supports in play. That means infantry conscripts are going to be able to attack for a colossal 8. A lot of people have kind of shit all over these cards, but now that they're able to attack for 8, they're looking pretty damn decent. So good on young Keilback, his rapper name, for just taking a bit of a chance and including these unusual units in his deck. Note that Barzul has got the initiative, but Barzul's cleavers, if they damage themselves, they're only going to be able to attack for 4. I guess with the signature event, Blood for the Blood God, we could see, like, if there's an infantry conscripts at planet 1, we could see Blood for the Blood God, deal them a point of damage, and then if Eric doesn't use any shields at any point, the Barzul's cleavers could attack, damaging themselves to deal 4, and that could kill the conscripts, but otherwise the conscripts are going to be able to attack for 8, with or without the assistance of Catachan Outpost, and that is just going to be terrifying. So I can only imagine that Glaive Guy is probably pissing his pants seeing these infantry conscripts at the moment, and I do not happen to recall if he has revealed his choice of ally yet. He has not, so we don't know if Archon's Terror is going to be a thing, or if otherwise he's running Orcs, and if he is, then he's not going to be able to rout these powerful conscripts here. We do have a copy of Seer of Deceit thrown out to planet number 4, and now note that we're going to be able to see Barzul trigger a battle ability because of the Keru Arameus, and then that is basically going to afford him a free card effect that Eric isn't going to be able to do a whole hell of a lot about. So interestingly, Eric has not used any of his 5 remaining resources. I'd have kind of assumed that he'd have done something to put units on the battlefield somewhere, but I guess that is not the case. He could have, put out a copy of Lehman Russ Battle Tank, and as a 4/6, that can do a considerable amount of damage. He could have even put a copy of Infantry Conscripts at a planet where he definitely did not want the Keru Arameus to activate, but, just a ton of different options. He could have used Maxim Squadrons and then abused this Keep Firing. But as is, it looks like Eric is maybe going for a conservative play. Looks like Barzul the Hatebound is going to be arriving at planet number 2. Grigory is going to be arriving at planet number 2. And would you look at all this red? That is going to be 5 planets, plus a Rogue Trader, plus a Seer of Deceit that is activated, all adding to the Cornate economy here. So let's hope for Eric that his little gamble here pays off. Let's hope for his sake he's going to be able to win at planet number 1. And then let's also hope he's going to be able to, I guess, set himself up for a victory at planet number 2, but Barzul is definitely going to try to do everything he can to try to block off his opponent, and if things were looking bad for Barzul, like, he ended up drawing 6 cards and got 5 resources, and that is just insane. And would you look at all this awesome new stuff that Barzul came across? He got a copy of Outflankum, so for the cost of 1, when your combat turn ends, you can take an additional combat turn. That could allow this game to be over immediately, because it's, combat turn, no action, reaction, combat turn. If your opponent doesn't have ambush units, well, even if he does have ambush units, if he doesn't have a bunch of units left at that planet, then he could be completely out of luck, and that could just be a nightmarish effect. We've got a couple copies of Snakebite Thug, which for the cost of, 2, to put a 3/4 into play is ridiculous. That synergizes great with Barzul. Barzul has a copy of No Mercy, and that's just absurd. We've got Keru Arameus activating a battle at Aatrox Prime. It's going to use its battle ability to trigger on Grigory and to trigger on the Mordian Hellhound here. That's going to be a point of damage on the Hellhound that was shielded, and then that's going to be a point of damage dealt also to Grigory. I'm not exactly sure if we saw... Yes, so Eric did appropriately add a point of damage to Grigory. And now let's see what happens. So this is going to be the Barzul's Cleavers damaging themselves. They're going to be able to attack for 4 at the infantry conscripts. And now I'm not exactly sure what our Chaos player is thinking. Interestingly, we see a copy of Keep Firing discarded as a shield, so the conscripts are only going to take 3 points of damage in total, and now they're going to have an opportunity to attack and end up dealing out... God, I guess 8 points of damage to the already wounded Barzul's Cleavers. That means there's going to be nothing that Barzul is going to be able to do to win this battle. We could see Troop Transport generate 1/2 Guardsmen soldier trait tokens at planet number 2, and then Eric could put out a copy of his Leman Russ. He could use Keep Firing. I guess kind of the crappy thing about this is during the following round, Eric is going to have to deal with a bloodied Barzul, presuming Barzul stays long enough to get bloodied. But even though Barzul is going to be a 3/11, if Eric is going to be able to put another copy of infantry conscripts at this planet, and it's going to be able to attack for 8, that is quickly going to be able to ruin Barzul. And, Catachan outposts are going to be able to boost an infantry conscripts up to a possible 12, and that could practically bloody the... Well, I guess Barzul's only got 11 HP on his bloodied side, so that could be the game right there. But the planet number 1 is going to be captured. That's going to be -1 resource for Guy. It's going to be +1 resource for Eric. And now let's see how battle is going to resolve at our current planet number 2. In regard to combat tricks that we could see, Eric doesn't have anything really at his disposal. It's just going to be this Heretic Inventor that can attack for 3. Eric does have Troop Transport, and he's got these Catachan outposts. I guess really the only thing that you'd want to do is use both of your Catachan outposts on Grigory, allow him to attack for 5, and then, because we don't have a 3 shield value card in Glaive Guy's hand, that's going to be the Heretic Inventor killed, and Barzul is not going to be able to transfer that damage. Barzul can stay at that planet to force himself to be bloodied, but all of a sudden things are not looking very good for Barzul at all. That copy of Mordian Hellhound is going to be killed, and now let's see if Eric makes, in my opinion, the right choice. And yes, that's going to be 1 Catachan outpost, activating Grigory Maksim, and let's go ahead and see. Okay, I don't exactly understand why he's doing this unless we're going to see that Troop Transport detonate. There we go. That's going to be both copies. That is going to be a swing of 5 directed toward that Heretic Inventor. It's going to be killed, and now Barzul the Hatebound is just going to be left to flail uselessly against Grigory here, so he's going to be no more than a 0/5 Warlord, and if he stays at this planet, that's eventually over 5 consecutive combat rounds, that's going to be a bloodied Barzul. At Barzul's okay, that is a very interesting and, in my mind, likely game-costing choice. Barzul the Hatebound is going to retreat, and now he's going to be showing up as a 0/5. Wow, all right. I guess Grigory decides to activate the battle ability. That is going to be a free Leman Russ battle tank for him. It's a 4/6. Keep Firing means that it's going to be able to show up at a planet exhausted. Then you can pay 1 to ready it. It's going to be able to attack. And now, so long as Eric is going to be able to win at planet number 1, he's got the infantry conscripts that can attack for 8, for Christ's sake. He's going to just be able to absolutely decimate Barzul, and, all the snakebite thugs in the world probably aren't going to be able to resist Grigory, but let's see. It's all going to come down to presumably this. Even to add insult to injury, we got a copy of Inquisitorial Fortress for our AM player, which can remove 1 big threat from that planet. So right in the nick of time, that is just a bit of a godsend for our AM player. And now the infantry conscripts are going to have an attack value of 10. So that is just looking absolutely ridiculous right there. And now what else are we going to see? The initiative token is going to be in Grigory's possession, and I guess Barzul had better make this count. We've got a copy of Seer of Deceit put out to planet number 1. It is going to have its +1 card bonus, but it's going to be played opposite a copy of Mordian Hellhound, and now Eric is going to only have 1 remaining resource, he's got 4 remaining resource, which is presumably going to be enough, yes, for this copy of Infantry Conscripts, which is currently attacking for 10. So he's got 2 10 attack units that are going to be at the same planet. That is just ridiculous. Barzul tosses out a couple of copies of Snakebite Thug. He's got enough for an outflank him. He does have a copy of No Mercy. He's got Blood for the Blood God to deal a point of damage to each and every undamaged unit at a planet. But if he does that to himself, he could set himself up nicely to get just wrecked by this area effect 1 attack. And Barzul himself, he can be a bit of a damage sponge, but if he shows up at this planet, he's not going to be able to, he's going to be a 0-5 that can sponge damage, and that's it. And when you attack for 10, you're not going to be able to have any units that survive taking damage. So I can't help but feel like it was probably maybe a mistake to have Barzul retreat the previous round, but then again, he's a huge liability when your opponent has these 10 attack infantry conscripts. So, I guess Guy maybe just thought that there was no point to being bloodied. Eric has at this point passed. Guy has also passed. We see more economy units kind of filling out the table here for Barzul, and now I can only imagine that our Chaos player is just hoping against hope that he ends up drawing some of his most valuable cards. Maybe another Warp Storm would be an absolute godsend. In fact, I think it would be, because it would just be a lot of damage to the AM units, but obviously Barzul is going to be allied with Orcs, so apart from outflank him and scarcely few other effects, I can't really think of anything too appetitive that he would want to dig through his deck for. Just in regard to winning a lot of command struggles, both of our players, to no one's surprise, send their respective warlords to planet number 1. It's going to be 2 command icons versus 3 command icons at planet number 1. So this is again going to be our Chaos player winning command on each and every planet. Let me see. So there is no action window prior to resolving command struggles. So it looks like Guy has that correct, but we just want to make sure that I guess this is going to be an additional card and resource for Barzul that we want to make sure that he has. So Barzul is going to win command on each and every individual planet, which is an absolute spectacular showing for him. And I guess let's see just what Glaive Guy comes across. So again, nothing really too crazy for Eric. He doesn't have any resources to use Keep Firing. He's not going to draw any additional cards. He's only got a 1 shield value card. Holy mother of hell, that is going to be 8 cards and 3 resources for our Chaos player. So what does he have at his disposal? He's got a Tzeentch's Firestorm. He's got 2 copies of Outflank him. He's also got a copy of Squigbomb, so we could definitely see Barzul come back and actually manage to win this one. Keru Arameus, I can only imagine, is going to be triggering at Aatrox Prime. That's going to be a lot of damage dealt out to each and every one of these enemy units. We could see Tzeentch's Firestorm pick off a specific problematic enemy unit, or we could see these Snakebite Thugs attack, then outflank them, then the other one attacks, and we could see them pick off the infantry conscripts that are hailed. A lot of different options here. So I guess let's see what all is going to happen. What's kind of tricky is the Inquisitorial Fortress is going to be an action, but Outflank him is going to be a reaction. So you can use, by the time... Okay, so here's how it's going to work out. I guess combat action begins. We see Blood for the Blood God deal 1 point of damage to each and every undamaged unit at this planet. That's going to be a lot of the Chaos units, but it's also going to be a lot of the Astra Militarum units as well. Then I can only imagine we're going to be seeing the Keru Arameus active to use Aatrox Prime, deal additional damage out to these AM units, and then it's just going to be more and more damage going out here. So what I was trying to say is Inquisitorial Fortress, if it's not used early, you could have Guy use a combat turn, like it could be attack with the Snakebite Thug, then use a reaction, outflank him, attack again, then use a reaction, outflank him, attack again, and then there would be an opportunity to rout a unit. And at that point, it would be too late, in a sense, because your units have already attacked. Note that the troop transport has quite wisely not been detonated, because there's going to be a large amount of damage going out, and looks like Aatrox Prime has been resolved, and that is going to be a whole hell of a lot of already wounded units. So, Guy must be thinking to himself, what exactly does he want to do? Note that Barzul the Hatebound already has 4 points of damage because he's stomached a lot of damage from, like, that Blood for the Blood God. A lot of that ended up on Barzul because they survived damage, and then as a reaction, you can shift it to your Warlord. And I guess let's just see here. So Guy does not have initiative, and I guess that is going to be this copy of Catachan Outpost augmenting the Mordian Hellhound. Okay, so here we go. That's going to be 1 Catachan Outpost activated on the Mordian Hellhound. Okay, so yeah, he says after the second one, so it's going to be bounced up to 3 attack, well, base 3, then to 5, then to 7. After the last one, I believe that's going to be the opportunity for Tzeentch's Firestorm. So Whiteblade says storm me, but does he mean Warp Storm or does he mean Firestorm? He did not specify, and therefore he has a higher probability of being accurate, and that is cheating, in my opinion. Not in regard to the game, but in regard to making an accurate prediction. Tzeentch's Firestorm is going to be paid for 1 resource? That's it? That seems like a bit of a gamble. Wow, just 1 resource. That is a bit of a surprise. Yeah, so we see keep firing. Okay, there we go. Yeah, all right. So yeah, why not play conservatively? No Mercy is going to be used to block off that shield. That is going to be a dead Mordian Hellhound, and that is going to be 2 wasted Catachan Outposts. So Guy Lev is a spectacular player. His performance was incredible during the winter 2016 season of the Black Crusade, and he was a player who helped me to do a lot of theory crafting to pilot my Captain Cato Sicarius deck to reasonable success, and of course I have Travis McDaniel to thank for all the assistance with war. But looks like we've got a copy of Infantry Conscripts that attacked for a monumental 10. It killed a copy of Snakebite Thug. Then we see Inquisitorial Fortress remove a Snakebite Thug from that planet, and now outflank him is not looking nearly so desirable, and it looks like even though he probably had a decent chance of winning this planet had things been done slightly differently, all of a sudden hope seems to be dissipating for our Barzul player. So all he's got is a 3-3 and a 3-2 that is exhausted, and then he's got his 0-1 Warlord Barzul. So Guy says, and all of a sudden I don't think things are looking too great for him. I guess a copy of Squigbomben could have been used earlier. He could still use that copy of Squigbomben to remove troop transport, so therefore it may not be the worst idea in the world for Eric to use that troop transport now. And I guess let's see what happens. This is going to be the Seer of Deceit delivering an attack directed toward the already grievously wounded infantry conscripts. It is going to be killed, and now Grigory himself is only going to be able to swing for just a total of 1, and I suppose you may as well do it directed toward Barzul, because if you were to attack for 2 against this Seer of Deceit and it survives, you can move all of that damage to Barzul, so it might be ever so slightly more efficient to kind of, parse out your damage as piecemeal as is possible. But will we see the troop transport? What exactly are we going to see? So Eric is basically out of shield cards. He's out of any kind of tricks. Eric decides that he doesn't have any actions. Our Chaos player has everything exhausted. And then let's see. We've still got the Squigbomben. He's got enough resources for it. He's got 2 copies of Outflankum, and there's nothing else really to use. We see a copy of Promotion discarded as a shield, and now it's all going to be up to these Seers of Deceit. So unfortunately, man, this is looking like one hell of a game. Eric indicates that I guess he's done. Do we see Squigbomben used now? If we see Squigbomben used, that's going to be a destroyed troop transport. Eric, unfortunately, is not going to be able to hit the threshold where he could use his ammo depot, but let's see how, okay, I guess the initiative is going to be in the possession of Grigory, and what sucks about this is we're going to be able to see this infantry conscripts attack and then kill one of these units, and I think outflank them has kind of passed the point of being a worthwhile event to use, because gone is the opportunity for Barzul to pick off a lot of these powerful AM units. So I guess let's see it. This is going to be 4 HP remaining on the Leman Russ battle tank. It's only going to be 3 HP remaining on the infantry conscripts, but even Grigory himself is still going to be a 1-5 unit. There are no more shields to be had, but, you know, the troop transport is still a thing. It's yet to be destroyed, and I guess I don't necessarily understand why Eric didn't use that yet. Like, maybe he's afraid of, I don't know, Warp Storm or Tzeentch's Firestorm, but 2 resources is not equal to 3, and therefore that's going to be insufficient to use a Warp Storm. The conscripts swing for 8. That's going to be a dead copy of Seer of Deceit. The Seer of Deceit, the best it can do is kill this infantry conscripts, and then that's going to be a Leman Russ battle tank having the opportunity to kill that Seer of Deceit, and then there's not going to be anything that Barzul is going to be able to win this one. So it was looking like one hell of a back and forth match. Unfortunately, it seems like Barzul was not going to be able to win this one, and now, yep, that's going to be the Seer of Deceit killing off that infantry conscripts, and now I can only imagine it's going to be Whiteblade's opportunity to ruin this Seer of Deceit, and as soon as it dies, then out the window goes any opportunity that Barzul had of winning. So that is going to be a dead copy of Seer of Deceit. Yep, there we go. Glaive Guy calls it out. That is going to be the GG. Good game. Congratulations to Eric Keilback, Whiteblade, for managing to pilot Grigory Maksim to victory. Barzul, piloted by Guy Lev, put up one hell of a valiant effort, but in the end it was insufficient to actually manage to pull out a victory on this one. So be sure to let me know in the comments what you thought of both of our players' gameplay, what you thought of how the Barzul deck was constructed, and much more importantly, what do you think about Grigory Maksim? How would you have played him differently? And like, how would you have built for Grigory? I thought it was fantastic seeing the infantry conscripts get in some serious work, but, you know, unfortunately our community-maligned Cornate Warlord was just entirely unable to beat our most recently unveiled, spoiled, proxied Astra Militarum Death World Cycle Warlord. So just bear in mind that between my creating this video and the eventual release of Grigory Maksim, we're going to be seeing the final Gambit War Pack, the last expansion of the Planetfall cycle, and we're also going to be seeing the Jungles of Nectivus and Unforgiven, packs 1 and 2 of the Death World cycle. So I can only imagine that there are plenty of upcoming tools for our AM Warlord, but regardless, he ended up putting out a pretty damn decent fight, and this made for one hell of a match. So thank you to both of our players, to Eric Keilback and Guy Lev, for putting up with my proxy match request, and as always, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, as ever, I encourage you to share this content, because the more engagement these videos receive, the more individuals are going to be stumbling upon Conquest. They might give this game a try, like what they experience, someday join our living card game community, and of course, the greater we are in number, the bigger message we send to Fantasy Flight Games, telling them to continue to develop this fantastic product. If at any point you'd like to get in touch with me, I would encourage you to do so through Facebook or on Twitter, and if you ever feel inclined to help support the Hive Tyrant, I would be absolutely honored were you to make even $1 a month contribution to my Patreon, because it all goes to help me recover my file hosting, operating expenses, and further, each additional invested dollar just goes to further improve the audio and video quality of my channel. So thank you once again for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for much more Conquest LCG content to come.